My name is Lori Coleman Brown, and I live and teach in Seattle, Washington. I suppose now I teach all around the world because I
Right.
can just teach into the little machine.
Hmm.
And let's see, I wore my shirt, Atlas. Oh, no, I didn't wear it. I teach at Atlas Pilates.
Okay.
And I don't own that studio. I did own a studio for very many years. And I hosted Romana, who's an amazing Pilates
Mm,
teacher for at a time before anybody knew what Pilates was. And so
really?
I was really lucky to get like this super strong access to Romana in my house. And
In your
but now
house?
Atlas Pil in my house, in my Pilates house, and
House.
also
Okay.
in my house, like she would watch TV with us
No
and,
way.
play with the dog and um, um,
That's crazy.
so yeah, so I did own a studio that got really quite big, and then I decided to just back to the people. Like
Yes.
I'm not really like now it's an industry.
Yes.
And so Pilates sort of, I feel like it grew up around me while I
Hmm.
was in this bubble or something. And
Yeah.
now I come out of it and I see like, oh my God,
What?
it's an industry and everybody's doing Pilates and that's what I'm doing.
Is there a bit of a culture shock that comes with that when you stepped out and looked around?
For sure, because with Romana, I was one of her teacher trainers. So
Yeah.
I was like held really closely and
Okay.
held myself really closely.
Yes.
And her mission, from my experience, was to get Pilates into as many bodies as possible. Like she wanted
Mm,
to create an army of teachers, and she really she like when I first met her and I first started watching, she just taught the individual. She would say like, Martin, come and sit here.
yes.
Now you smile with your ear, but this ear doesn't move. Like she would just look
What?
at the person and then
Yeah.
she'd say, well, when you walk like this. So can you turn this foot out? And she would really look at each individual. And the
Yes.
more and more and more people came over the years, the more she just started to organize all these people like stand this
Yes.
way, sit this way, do it 10 times, no more, no less. Put your hand here. Your hand has to be like this. It has to be straight, no matter what. She got more and more codified because there were more
Codified.
and more people that
Yes.
wanted. And so, depending on when people went through the training, like
Hmm.
I have maybe about 25 years of watching and training with her. Depending on when you went through the training, you got kind of either like you have to stand like this, or
Yes.
wait a minute. Yeah,
There.
I don't know how to quite use my machine.
You're doing great. So yeah,
So,
so where we met her at that point, you may have got more of a codified system as opposed to an individualized approach.
yeah, like I really got the individualized approach. When she came to my studio, no one knew what Pilates was, so we just paid her to teach our friends and our family, and we got to watch her just teach people. And in Seattle, we had a tiny studio. No one was watching. She was out of New York. She was just like totally free.
Yes.
And she just did her thing, and it was very individualized and very
Mm,
creative. And then as things got bigger and bigger, I'm going to say like by about right about 1999, maybe
mhm.
98, 99, it started to become a lot more systematic
Yes.
energy.
But Lori, was she actually famous? Like when she came, was it like Romana's gonna be in town? You have to come to.
No,
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
no. no.
Yeah.
In fact, my first business card, I had a partner, my partner Lauren, our first business card folded open, and it said, Pilates is a method of exercise created by a man named Joseph Pilates to improve your health.
Yeah. There you go. Say no more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating though. Like, I mean, like I never thought about the fact that, well, with Romana and the stories of Romana, we hear like, the people that she mentored and the system that she created and the teacher training and stuff. Like, so you're saying this individualized approach that changed over time as it became bigger and bigger and bigger. That really is interesting.
I'm not going to say quite like that. I'm going to say that there was always a system. There
Yes.
was
Okay.
always footwork, 100, overhead,
Yeah.
coordination, like return to life, and um, all the photos of Joe are in the studio, on this rolling cart thing.
Yes.
So the system was totally there. I
Right.
guess this morning you texted me while I was frantically brushing my hair. My main message right now
Yes.
is that teaching the curriculum and doing the curriculum of exercises is completely different than using the using contrology to help people
Hmm.
live more gracefully, stronger, healthier, all the things that Joe promises in his writings.
Yes.
Bridging that gap from the curriculum of, these very specific exercise forms. Like if someone can't do this because it clicks their shoulder, continuously repeating that is not probably going to make the click go away.
Right.
So, of course, there's like a gazillion other exercises we can do,
Hmm.
but he also lays out like an entire puzzle that we should have
Yes.
full control of every fiber of our being so that we can be completely natural.
Yes. Right. Yes. Okay. Good luck with that.
Okay, good luck
Yeah.
with that. So
Right.
there's like a huge amount of creativity that
Hmm.
I experience in my own teaching, and that I really, that's where I play. I play with knowing this curriculum
Hmm.
like for 35 years, and then seeing an individual and how am I going to help this individual benefit from this body of work?
Yes.
And this like never ends. It's so exciting and fun.
Now, what type of people coming in excite you more? The person who still is like absolutely new to Pilates, or someone who's been doing it one way and you can now open their horizons to Pilates? Like, does one excite you more than the other?
I guess it's so long as someone has an open mind. Usually by the time they get to me, because I'm not famous or anything, by this time someone figures out or is recommended to me,
Yes.
their mind is usually pretty open.
Yes.
So, but if I'm fighting with someone that they insist, like say this has happened a lot. Somebody has secret pain, and
Okay.
I'm a physical therapist, and so I've been the person that many people have come to with secret pain
Hmm.
over many years. And someone, say, who's really attached to literally pasting their lower back on the mat, and they have secret neck pain.
Hmm.
And you know that this chain, what the intention in the lower body is going to affect the upper body.
Yes.
And so I've learned now that I don't have to fix people,
Hmm.
and I don't need to stand for the classical exercise because it's in a book, it's on a video, like a million gazillion people are doing that, which I'm
Hmm.
very grateful. So I can just be there with that person and I just sort of trick them into it.
Yes.
I just trick them into it. I'll say, well, instead of doing the rollback and trying to unravel this kind of held posture, I'll just say, well, stand up. Now roll over. Now pick an apple from the tree and take a big bite
Hmm.
and um and then lay on the, this is one of my favorite for that type of person. Lay on the Wonder chair without any springs and just pick up the pedal like you're on your belly, laying
Yes. Like you're
prone.
doing swan or whatever.
Yeah, but without any springs and just pick up the pedal and just hold it there. And that is a great way to trick people into extension.
Hmm.
So that's what I do.
Joel Crosby is saying that Lori actually is magic.
Oh, hi, Joel.
Why does everyone oogle over Joel? Just on a sidebar. I'm just kidding.
What is it about Joel? Joel has like a
Yes.
he has a zen about him, and
Yes.
he has a zen with a twinkle at the same time, which
A
is
Zen with a twinkle.
yeah, that
Wow.
is really fabulous.
That's a pretty high compliment. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Plus, he called me magic, so hello. Anyone who calls me
Right.
magic is going to get a heart.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny, Laura, at the beginning when we were talking about how calm I was and just taking time, when you start to say like, well, I spent time with Romana and she was at my house sort of thing, like it's like I have like a million questions I want to ask you. Let's make this time like tell me more. Like
I
so if anyone has
know.
questions in the comment section and just have questions for Laura or for Romana, since we have someone who has that spirit, like
Yeah.
please do. But
You know, it's fun also that Jay Grimes, before he was sort of famous-ish or so
well known.
in demand or popular,
Mhm.
he has also stayed at my house. And I have a Jack Russell, a little dog, and he would throw the ball. And then when she brought it back to him, he would say, "Thank you." I just think that's the cutest thing. No one has said thank you to my dog
There
when
you
she brought the
go.
ball back. He said
So
thank you.
he's a keeper as well.
He's totally a keeper. He has another kind of he has like a zen, definitely twinkle with kind of a little edge, like a it's sharp, but it has
Mhm.
like the handle's made out of hearts.
Love it. So my question then is, and this isn't a judgment question of any style per se, but
Yeah.
there are teachers who are very militant. So like you've talked about kind of the ebb and flow of even Romana's teaching. Some that are locked into a very militant type of teaching, and some who have a very fluid, just kind of let everything happen type flow. Is there one that is more true to the way that it quote unquote should be, or is like every kind of teaching style welcome? Is one kind of like way off the handle and more trendy? Like do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess my short answer is it's all good. It's
Mhm.
all good. And um, I think either one can get dis not agree with people. Like a militant, a very athletic militant, high energy, boom, 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 boom. Like if that doesn't agree with you, if you have a squeaky wheel in that system and that doesn't agree with you, then eventually you're going to be like, well, maybe I'll try this flowy teacher.
Right.
And then if you're with kind of this flowy teacher, and you're like, it's kind of boring or whatever, then you just, I think that we can drift
Hmm.
in this road. And if the exercise is like, no matter how creative I get, I always touch back to function. Like,
Yeah.
can this person get up and down? Can they pick up their coffee cup?
Yes.
And then the exercises. Does this look like the footwork or the 100 or the,
Hmm.
does it look like a spring? Does it look like an apparatus that Joe Pilates made? And if the answer is no and it's useful, I'll be like, well, I'm going to use this weird thing that does not look like Joe Pilates.
Yes.
And then if I pick the right thing and it's effective, I need it for one lesson. And then I hide it again under my Cadillac.
Yes.
How about you? What do you think about all the different styles?
I've I've been learning so much about these different styles from people who have a dance background, so everything is with rhythm, to those who have, like you said, this really set militant order, and everything is, and everything in between. The more I speak with people like yourself that have years of experience and just the wisdom that comes from being around other teachers, the more I realize that there's a lot more freedom within this work than we think.
Yeah.
It comes back to understanding its origins, respecting its origins, and the intent of movement. And then once you got that down, you're free to run. So
Yeah.
so that's the thing I've learned. So over time, I've recognized that, and there may be times when I need to be more strict and more athletic to appeal to a person, and there's times where I need to slow it down and have a more fluid. What would seem like a boring class for me is exactly what that person needs that day. So,
Yeah. So being able to recognize when you have contact
hmm,
is like such a big deal with Pilates, with working with people.
yes,
Like, you have to know, you or be able to sense when somebody's like, and then when somebody's
yes,
like you, they're in.
yes.
Sometimes I'll just say with people, I go out, in, out, in. Okay, do your footwork, and then I'll say one little thing like surf your right hip up and forward or whatever. Like, that's for a very established client. Okay,
Very
so
aware. Yes,
like we have a relationship, so I might say like surf your right acetabulum hip socket up and forward, and they go. Then I'm like, oh, great, I'm gonna watch the show.
yes, right.
Because they got it. They don't
Yes,
need me to like one potato, two potato, three. They don't need me. In fact, I'll just be like a distraction. I'll be like in their way if I keep
yes,
giving.
yes,
So I like to teach like a go 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 go, watch watch, pounce,
yes, right. Yeah,
hold space for them to get that thing. They get it. They got it. They got it. They got it. Okay. They don't need me. They don't want me. Now I unpair myself and let them go. And
hmm,
I just kind of watch around the side until they need me again. Oh, you need me? Okay. Let me help you again.
yes. That speaks to educating your people, your students, to understand their own bodies. Like, you're not just giving them a good workout, you're giving them the tools to understand what's happening in their body through the workout.
Big time. Big time. I'm really like, bam, you hit the nail on the head.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's yes. Like, I think people you're watching this and listening to it. I hear just your years of experience, and you're so calm with it. I think people get uptight with it. Like, I have to get this in, and we have to get through these exercises. And I feel that, like, for myself as well as a teacher, I've been in the fitness industry for almost 20 years, but in the Pilates diving deep, like I'm diving deep now for the last maybe 5 years. Um, so you feel like, okay, there's still a lot to learn. And the more I learn, the more I'm relaxing, but there's still the sense of being really rigid with it. Maybe that's my personality too. I like to have it a certain way,
Mm-hmm,
but like
mm-hmm.
understanding that is it's fascinating. So I love hearing these comments of being a magician, and like you seem like you're very curious with the way that you teach.
Yeah, totally curious. I want to know. That's what gets me to show up every day. If I didn't
Yes.
have that, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be
Hmm.
bored because, you know, I would have figured out whatever I figured out for this many years and then
Yeah.
moved on.
Moved on.
Yeah.
Do you like teacher training programs and things along those lines?
Oh yeah, I have a teacher training program at Atlas Pilates,
Okay.
and we train people from from zero to becoming a teacher. And then we also have a master's program, which is very small. I only have my second student right now,
Okay.
and that's much more like one-on-one
Right.
kind of. So with that kind of person, that can either be like a bridge program. We can make it our own. It can be like a bridge program where somebody starts, say, with whatever, stot Pilates, and then they learn, I'll call it classical Pilates because I don't know what to call things anymore.
Right.
Um, but also all of the teaching techniques, like what we're talking about today, that's like master's program stuff because the
Hmm.
undergraduates need to know you do 10 footwork on the toes, 10 on the arches, 10 on the heels, lower and
Yes.
lift, tall posture, um, focused mind, breathing. They
They
need
need
to
like a framework.
know.
Yeah.
They need a framework because if I'm adding on these fancy, they kind of can't help but give some of this because that's kind of where I'm
Of
at. But
course. Yeah.
the master's program will dive deeper into how to connect the work with the person, and the
Yes.
person's like a moving target.
Right. Right.
Because
Yeah. So how to connect the work with the person.
yeah. Yeah, because if we're just, if you don't know, then you just do the work. You just do the footwork, the 100. You just pick the best ones where the person's not like, ah,
Yes.
don't pick that one.
Right. Noted. Okay.
And, I didn't go through a teacher training program because
Mm.
I've been teaching that long where there was no program or I wasn't aware of any program. So I kind of learned like that. Like
Yeah.
I had the guy, the super stiff guy, and I got those black straps for leg
Hmm.
circles and frogs. I got those straps on that guy's feet and I was
Yes.
sweating. And and then he was on the reformer with his legs and he was like
Oh, yes.
like if the wind blew, he was just gonna fall right off.
Yes.
And I learned like, well, don't put those straps on the stiff guy.
Right.
Like I learned it in my heart.
Right. Exactly. So you're the person that when we want to say, oh, I did this teacher training program with this person, or I'm a member of this place, or I have you'd be the person walking in the room and be like, I didn't do a teacher training program, but Romana has been at my house, has pet my dog, she's watched TV. How's that for a feather in your cap?
Yeah, yeah. I learned totally. Romana was totally my teacher, 100%.
Yes.
And but it was, yeah, before it was just at a different time.
Yeah, it's a different time. I hear myself almost if I was to step outside this conversation and watch it, I would feel like I'm almost starstruck by who you've been taught by. When the reality is that I'm so curious in my own way about learning more about this work.
Yes, thank you, Martin.
Yes.
Yeah. Because almost all my interviews go off into my history.
Right.
And today I did really meditate on like I love the work every day.
Hmm.
I love the work every day. I love um, teaching an exercise and then sitting back and being like, well, what's that person's nature? Like, Before
Yes.
I slap on, pull in this and reach over there, what are they like? Are they the kind
Yes.
of person when they step that they'll coil? Are they when they are the kind of person that the will kind of open up?
Mhm.
If they fell, would they fall to the right or to the left?
Hmm.
If I said lift, which part is going to lift off of which other part? Is their
Yes.
shoulder girdle going to lift off? Is their rib cage going to dislocate? Are they going to pull their head off their neck? Are they going to pull what are they
Yes.
like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love, love it. And the structure of the work being so
Mhm.
so regular every single time, every single time, every single person doing footwork, doing 100, doing roll up. It's amazing because then we can see um, the differences in
Yes. Yep.
in that structure. It's just
Yes.
keeps on giving.
Absolutely. That is really the beauty of it. Like that is almost like within your brain, that space is now free to look for something else because you don't have to think about what comes after arches. Okay,
Yep,
so now that I don't have to think that this comes next, now let me look at what else is happening somewhere else in the body.
yep.
So you have really sparked within me that okay, well, what different questions can I ask? How can we be curious in different ways of the body that's in front of us moving the same way as the last body,
Yeah,
and what can we see differently between those two?
yeah.
That's good
I'm
stuff.
teaching some mini workshops right now.
Okay.
Um, on there, I call them 5 Fridays or mini workshops at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So that's
Okay.
noon your time.
My turn.
And so the next series starts October 23rd. So I have 2 weeks off. But what I did the last series and what I'm still drawn to is the laws of nature,
Okay.
like how does gravity hit this person, and
Yes.
what is the ground reaction when someone rolls? If you have a butt, you're going to hit the ground in a different way than somebody with a skinny butt or with scoliosis.
Right.
um, and you know what arthrokinematics are?
I don't.
Arthrokinematics, that's like how joints move, how joint surfaces move.
Okay.
So I've been interested in studying how our joints move as a law of nature. And then that gave me the idea for the lady with surfing her hip socket up and over the ball, where most
Yes.
of us are focused on the ball, like I want the ball to do this or that.
Right.
And so studying the laws of nature, I'm like, oh, I'm going to move the socket instead of the ball, and then click, that was her.
Wow.
Oh, how can we be curious about people? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think teaching people to own their own workout, or know, at least know the names of the exercises,
Yes.
is a really good first step, because then as the teacher you can step back and say, well, do your stomach massage. And we can tell people, like, today I'm going to um, or for this exercise, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to count out loud.
Yes. Yes.
It
Yeah.
can be like really small steps.
Hmm.
Or for these 5 repetitions, I want you to go slow mo.
Yes. Hmm.
Or this is a really good one. Do you teach semi-privates?
I do. Yes.
Oh yeah, so this is great. So you can tell somebody, like, go to the mat and do all the exercises that you know. And they're
Oh,
like,
nice.
that one is so good. They do
That's
them all out
great.
of order.
Yes.
But then out of one eye, you can see, like, wow, that person,
Yes.
they really know blah blah blah, or they really don't know blah blah blah.
Yeah, you can feel like you feel great about yourself as a teacher. It's like I taught them so well, or you're like, oh, like,
Oh my gosh.
yes, yes. And the beauty of that, like we were talking with Brenda yesterday about children and how you teach them, and then they learn how to fall and there's safety and stuff. The beauty of sending them off to do their mat work by themselves is they really can't hurt themselves.
Yeah, the mat.
I mean, I'm sure they could find a way to hurt themselves,
Yeah.
but for the most part, like this,
Yeah.
so sure, let's just cut them loose and see what they know. There'll be
Yeah.
better retention for that.
Yeah. And then next time when you do the mat with them, they'll pay attention a little bit more, like, or
Right?
ask a question like, well, how do you remember what's after the whatever? You say, oh, I remember because when my leg comes down, I just chase it and then I find myself sitting and then I'm rolling.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes. I love these comments. Like, this is great. Thank you so much. Love it. Brilliant. Awesome. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Very, yeah, teaching anatomy. You're such a fabulous teacher, Lori. That's Kathy Orso.
Kathy! I have a lot of twinkly friends because I was going to describe Kathy and I was going to say, she's twinkly.
Yeah, I can't say that I've used twinkly as a compliment for people lately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what can I say?
that's good. You're your own person.
So, I did a little research on you, Martin, and I looked
Yes,
at your website and I saw that you were a social worker.
I am,
You
was.
am, uh-huh.
I did my master's in marriage and family therapy. So
Oh,
I've always been fascinated with the family dynamic, which actually with Mary Bowen being, have you met her by chance over the years?
I've seen her. I wouldn't say that I really met her.
Okay. So Mary Bowen, I knew the name from studying marriage and family therapy with her family systems therapy and her
Wow.
philosophy that if you had like, those mobiles for little children where they're all hanging, like if you look at one element on that mobile, that changes the dynamic of how everything moves. So that
Oh,
was her philosophy. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the comment section, but so you couldn't look at counseling like say I'm working with a child. I have to look at the whole family dynamic to get an understanding of what's happening with this child. That was her kind of philosophy in family systems theory. And I love that. And I always looked up to her for that. And then found out she's a Pilates person. And I was like, my
wow.
two favorite fields of just like things, she is like an icon in both. And I was like, that was a pretty
Oh,
cool moment for me to discover
wow.
that. So yeah, I love talking dynamics and people dynamics and
Oh,
listening to
yeah.
people's stories and understanding their backstory and how that brings them to today.
Cool. So do you have a studio? Are you the sole teacher or do you have like a team?
Sole teacher. So what you see behind
Uh-huh.
me is a 200 square foot micro business
Uh-huh.
that is within high octane training, which is a multidisciplinary site. So it's a gym. We have what's the word looking for, chiropractic and athletic therapists and all of them. So I've done my personal training out of here for years. And as a result of our quarantine, we decided to turn this lunchroom into a Pilates studio.
Oh, wow.
So dedicated space and got our equipment, and then started at the same time our core conversations where we're highlighting other people. So like the podcast and this physical space are both COVID babies, so to speak.
Oh, wow. That's interesting because some people are doing the opposite. They're closing, their
Yes, yeah,
businesses and you're expanding. Oh, well, when
expanding.
you talk about family dynamics and stuff, I think, oh, you'd be such a good boss, to have a team of
I
teachers.
know. And one day, this is a few months old, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
getting there, but yeah, it's all fascinating. Like I just love the way that you just talk about like with that curiosity. That is definitely one of my takeaways is asking questions when we talk about the social work piece. for
Mm-hmm.
me, like I love asking questions. I love hearing stories. So the way that you look and the way that you approach your Pilates is the way that I approach people as well. It's like I'm always curious. I want to hear their stories, so I'm asking questions. So with my eyes, when I teach, you've given me some
Yeah.
new questions to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, like you could ask a question like, well, like the body is the family. So
Yes.
the right arm is the big sister or the big brother, and the left arm is the little brother, and the stomach is the mother, and whatever. And
I
they
see
all
where you're going.
affect each other.
Yes, exactly. And they don't work independent of one another,
No, you can't disembody your arm and then work it out while you're like having a smoke.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. See,
Yeah, like yesterday I was working with this guy who I've known a long time, and he cycles. He's like a maniac cyclist.
okay.
And he's broken his collarbone because he went pitched over the handlebars. And he was really focused on his hip. And we were doing like the star kind of, not like the big star, but just like side plankish baby
Yes.
stars. And I really got the feeling like his up arm was the culprit
Hmm.
to this hip. This arm was weighing on this hip.
Okay.
He needed to, so anyway, all the parts affect each other.
Yes. And that's why I like the whole dialogue around fascia as well, right? That's what that fascinates me because
Love that.
then you see how interrelated, interconnected the body is. And when I was doing more personal training in Pilates, I was always inclined towards multi-joint, multi-planar movements for that same reason, because it's not just about doing a bicep curl and a tricep extension, and everything's connected. So
For sure.
yeah, we are at 49 minutes, Lori. That's like crazy fast.
Wah, 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 wah.
It's all good stuff. I mean, like you look in the comment section, like if for nobody else, this was so rich for me. Like
Yeah,
totally,
me too. I'm
yeah.
really enjoying it. You started out your comments about let's walk together and
Yes.
being black or being white and this kind of conversation. And I remembered a story that I wanted to share with you
Please, yes.
and maybe get some insight or just share. It can just hang out there. But I'm a physical therapist, so I went to school and we do these internships, and I was doing an internship in Philadelphia in a hospital. And you do it for like a month. So
Yes.
you sort of get to know people. You're not really friends, but you sort of get to know people. And
Right.
there was a black guy, and we worked together. So over this month, I'm getting to know him. And I learn at one point that we are both going to be walking to the subway at the same time. And I'm like, hey, are you going to the subway? I'm going that way. And he told me, I cannot walk with you. I can't be seen with a white girl.
Yes.
In whatever I was, North Philly or South Philly or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't remember. I'm going to the subway and he's going to the subway. And I guess that was like the original social distancing because we walked to the subway kind of like this.
Right. Yes.
So I just got the feeling like, wow, in the
Yes.
hospital we can be friends. We were definitely friendly and we were working together. But outside it wasn't okay.
It wasn't okay.
No.
That is, that's a social commentary on humanity and in so many different ways where what you believe on the inside needs to have expression on the outside, but not everyone's ready for that expression yet. So then at some point, you have to choose whether you're going to be a rebel and push back against those societal norms and take all the feedback that's going to come with pushing back against it, or toe the line or find some compromise in between. And that is a struggle of today in many ways. And over the years, it could be a different topic of the day, but it's always the same issue. So like what you saw there with that physical distance that you need because you're white and black, maybe 5 years later, 10 years later, it would have been fine to walk side by side, but it's still not okay to marry that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and then later it may be, well, that's fine, but this isn't okay. Well, that's fine now, but this isn't okay. So it's just interesting how that story is telltale of the system and that pattern that still goes on today with just a different topic. Like you could sub in walking side by
Yeah.
side with something else, and that's where we are
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. I could tell he was like, and he even, I think he even said something like, if the black girl, I don't want to disrespect my black women or something like that. And
Yes.
um, it was very, very interesting.
That in our 8 minutes that we have left, I'm going to open up a whole new massive, massive dialogue because my wife is white.
Mm,
So now when we have these conversations around interracial marriage, one of the things that comes up is there that sense of a black male being quote unquote off the market for black women? There's another white woman who's taken another black man off the market, so to speak.
mm-hmm,
Right? So is there a stigma around that? Like to what you just said a minute ago, there's all these different stigmas and stereotypes, but whether it's a friend context like your colleague there at work or in marriage, like love is love. And I think that we all know that here, but then when we have to go out and then battle with people who have these preconceived ideas of what that is, that's when that's where the rub is, right? That's where the real
mm-hmm.
struggle is.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I'm really excited to have spoken with you, Martin Reed,
This this has been so
Canadian.
good. Canadian, that's right.
Uh, we
Blossom
all
is on
want to
there too.
be, we all want to be Canadian right now.
I know. It's like you all can come over and I've made jokes about that. Like we need to like start the Underground Railroad again and you guys can just kind of tunnel your way over and no one will ask
Yeah,
any questions.
yeah.
Craziness. Well, thank you for your time. Absolutely a delightful conversation. Absolutely. What did you say to him? He was zen and twinkly.
Yeah, he's Zen with like a little,
Yes, so
yeah.
good. So yes, well, thank you, Laura. I'm gonna send you the replay of this later, and then
Okay.
also on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, there's a conversation, so people may have more questions for you, and it's a great place to just interact with other past guests and highlight your workshops and stuff. I'll put it on there as well, so we can get people connected with
Yeah.
you and all of your curious brilliance that twinkles.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Martin. Personal victory.